Deep in the glades, as the sun set on the evening of the winter solstice, two girls crept toward a sleeping dragon gator. One held a pair of tweezers. The other kept her hands buried deep in the pockets of her blue cotton dress. Both took quiet, careful steps through the marsh, the brackish water nearly up to their knees and their skirts tied to keep them from getting ruined. "I don't want to do this," Larkin, the girl with the tweezers, whispered. Her blonde hair hung in two stick-straight braids, each tied with a scrap of yellow ribbon. A few strands had slipped free, shoved hastily behind her ears. "But you want the scale," the other girl, Cordelia, whispered back. She was taller by a couple of inches, with hair the color of mahogany bark. It desperately needed brushing, but that suited her. Everything about Cordelia was a bit untamed. Even the sky blue dress she wore, the best one she owned, was hopelessly wrinkled. Larkin didn't want the scale. She needed the scale. But there was no time to explain that when they were already running late, and even if there were, she wasn't sure Cordelia would understand the difference between wanting and needing. Larkin didn't think Cordelia knew what it was to need something, only to have everything. She pushed the flare of jealousy from her mind and focused on the sleeping dragon gator. "Can't you do it?" she asked her friend. But Cordelia shook her head. "It has to be you. And don't be so dramatic. It's just a dragon gator," Cordelia said, though she was careful to keep her voice low to avoid drawing its attention. "A dragon gator with sharp teeth and claws and a mouth big enough to swallow me whole," Larkin muttered under her breath, even as she took a step closer. Then another. Cordelia at her side. "A sleeping dragon gator whose big mouth isn't good for anything more than snoring," Cordelia countered. "Besides, they're docile. You know that." Larkin did know that. She knew it the same way she knew that the phoenix flies that illuminated the banyan trees always flickered back to life eventually, or that marsh maids swimming in the Beguilement River were more illusion than flesh and bone. No matter how many times she told herself those things were true, it was difficult to remember when she came face to face with the creatures in question, especially when the face of said creature was so big and scaly and full of teeth. "Don't be such a baby," Cordelia whispered, nudging Larkin forward. Larkin shot Cordelia a glare before turning her gaze back to the creature sprawled out on the log, its talons hanging down on either side, skimming the water, its eyes closed. Avocado green wings draped down over its back like a blanket. It was so still that it could have been carved from moss-covered stone if not for the ever-so-slight flare of its nostrils and the steady rise and fall of its chest. She glanced back at Cordelia, hoping her friend would stop her, but instead, Cordelia's dark brown eyes met hers like a dare, and Larkin heard her words echo through her mind. "Don't be such a baby." Larkin wasn't a baby. She was 11, only a few months younger than Cordelia, who had just turned 12, though sometimes that small distance felt like eons. They were the same age, more or less. But Cordelia always seemed so much older and wiser, and Larkin always felt like a baby in comparison. But she was determined to prove Cordelia and herself wrong. Squaring her shoulders, she took a step closer to the dragon gator, then another, all the while watching the steady rise and fall of its chest. The sun was just dipping below the horizon, which meant she and Cordelia were officially late for the solstice party.